What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Talking with Justin Henry, Marcus Graves, man, here on the broadcast, live on a Saturday morning. Well, not live for y'all watching, but you can still drop in the comments and have fun, man. Marcus, has been a little bit of different things happening since we last were on air, man, obviously with the Damar Hamlin news. And news that he's improved, man. Status has improved, talking to teammates, man. Talk about your thoughts as you kind of heard everything going on through the week.
Yeah, man, it's a super scary situation because it was like really like a routine play. I think that's what's so scary about it, man. It's because like it wasn't like some dirty hit, it wasn't some like abnormal play. It was just a normal play that happened. Definitely happy to see that his health is improving. Him talking to teammates obviously is probably super encouraging to those around him, and just hoping that his spirits are high, hoping that he gets healthy, and that's the main focus.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because you don't, you go through some things, and when playing wise, like you see regular, you see regular injuries. You see guy tore his ankle, hurt his leg. I think we were talking about this a couple episodes ago. It's like, but
Yeah.
you don't really see something that's like life threatening very often. What's the worst thing you kind of seen on? I don't really want to bring up anything bad, but
Yeah.
like, have you ever seen anything like that kind of magnitude on the court, man, in your playing days?
Man, I've seen like a dislocated ankle, but that's really it. Like I haven't seen guys like pass out or nothing like that. We were talking. I remember we were talking about like a month ago, probably the Tua situation.
Yeah,
How that was like super scary, and like not to downplay that, but like this was like crazy,
yeah,
bro. Like, 'cause this was no head contact or nothing. Like that's why when I first saw the play, I was so confused. I was like, he didn't even get hit in the head.
yeah. Like you
Um,
saw it, you almost thought it was like
yeah.
nothing, man. And so
I
it
thought
sucks,
like
man.
yeah, I thought it was like when you just stand up too fast sometimes and you like pass out. That's what I thought
Yep.
happened at first, because like, but it's super good to see him getting healthy. His spirits are high, and
Yeah.
hopefully he gets back to normal. And but even if he doesn't play football again, that's not even the main concern. Just his health as a human
Facts.
being for sure.
Facts. You want to see him get right, and like you mentioned, it was kind of like one of those bang bang things. Like the commercial went, you see a
Yeah,
guy down on the field, you're like, oh, he'll be back up, and it's like
yeah.
they come back to a commercial break, another commercial break, another commercial break, and you kind of just wondering what's going on. So, glad to hear things are improving though. In his case, talking to his teammates, open, awake, off of air, those are things you love to see. So, hopefully, he's able to get right, healthy, mentally, whatever he needs, man, and if he never plays again, I don't think anybody would be mad. So it's good to see, really good to see like the community though, bro. Like
For sure.
everybody kind of come in and rally around this guy, support this guy. So shout out to prayers to Damar Hamlin, his family, the players, everybody. Glad things are trending the right way. But in that time, they also things changed, man. Like even for the game, they canceled the game because of it,
Yeah.
which I think was a good move. But it's had some implications now. We've heard the Bengals players are coming out saying, "Hey, this didn't give us the opportunity. That's not in the rule book." We saw Joe Mixon complain about it, Zach Taylor complaining about it, and obviously, things are a little different. This is kind of a one-off scenario.
Hmm.
But this playoff race is a little different now, man. This
Yeah.
the way that this AFC is shifting out.
Yeah, I think it's tough. It's a tough situation to talk about because obviously you want to keep in mind his health. So I think that's why it was so. At first, nobody was really saying anything.
Yeah,
But I kind of do agree with Cincinnati, man. I think the NFL, like, I think the NFL could have pushed everything a week back. Like, I think that's something that could have happened to make the playing field more even. Because if Cincinnati wins that game, like, they're in prime position to get the 1 seed. And now
yeah,
it comes down to coin flips and this and that. And now, like, a neutral site, like, that's not home field advantage. Like
right.
you work this whole season to get to that's what wins teams games sometimes is the home field advantage. So I see what they're saying. I think it's like you said, it's unprecedented. So it's a situation where it's like we've never seen this before. NFL kind of had to make some quick decisions, um, and I do agree that it's tough to like just put everybody else on pause.
Yeah,
So then like we could play one game. Um, but
that
I
part
mean,
to me didn't make sense. Like, and
yeah.
it sucks. It's like, but given the circumstances, anything could have happened in that game. The Bills
Hmm.
could have came back. Bengals could have won. Anything could have happened. But to make all the teams have to go through a shift in weight a week, like that would have changed. I feel like that would have changed so much because that doesn't just change that. The Super Bowl, like there might have been a smaller gap between the, if they eliminated the Pro Bowl. There's just so much that could have changed time lapse wise, like time wise. For me, it didn't make, I think it was just one of those things you got to chalk up as a player, mentally.
Yeah.
The only like you understand an inconvenience and maybe you don't get home field, but it's like, come on, man. We know why. Like the bigger
Yeah.
reason why, and I think you got to be able to put that a little bit to the side and be like, all right, this don't happen very often. He's healthy. That's a win in itself. In my
Yeah.
personal opinion. You know what I mean? Like I can
Yeah.
feel for those guys who fight all year, and maybe they're not as affected as a lot of people were, but some of them, there's obviously some others who probably were a little bit more affected. But for me, when I think about it, I'm like, in the grand scheme of things, he's healthy. You still made the playoffs. There's a coin flip scenario in some circumstances. It could be on a neutral field. Like there's options. So it
Yeah.
might not be
Yeah.
ideal, but at least there's something there that says, hey, you're still in the playoffs. You still have a chance. It won't just be a flat out home field advantage.
Yeah. I think it was tough too because like there's all these teams that are like right there. Like it's not like one team was way ahead of the other. I think it would have been easier if like the Bills say had like a 2-game lead. Like it would have been
Yeah.
easier to be like, all right, no contest. Since there's like 3 teams that are right there, I think that's what made it so tough.
Yeah, when you talk about all these teams that are together, man, it's like all these teams have a chance to. There's still a lot of teams that have a chance to make the playoffs, and so I want to go over the playoff scenarios, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how these teams can clinch. So the teams that are already in, the teams that it would be right now if things just stood as they were. KC would have the bye. It would be the Bills. It would be the Patriots going to play the Bills. The Ravens going to play against the Bengals. The Chargers going to play against the Jacksonville Jaguars. If things just stood as is in the AFC. In the NFC, it would be the Seahawks going to the Niners. The Giants would be playing the Vikings. The Cowboys would be playing the Bucks. And the Eagles would be on a bye. So all these, most of the teams that are in the playoff picture right now, obviously can clinch with the win, but there's a few scenarios where even a win doesn't help, like with the Seattle Seahawks. So for the Kansas City Chiefs, they win, they get the number 1 seed, or Buffalo loses. For the Jaguars, they will. This is an important matchup for them, Marcus. What do you think about this matchup? Jacksonville and Tennessee playing today on Saturday. With the win, they clinch the NFC South. If they lose, they can also have Miami lose, New England lose, and Pittsburgh lose and still get a playoff spot. But for them, they really need to win this game or tie it. What are your thoughts about this Jacksonville-Tennessee game?
Yeah, I think if you're Jacksonville, obviously you just want to handle your business and get in on your own. And this Jacksonville team is hot right now, bro. They've been playing some good football. Trevor Lawrence has kind of turned the corner a little bit. This offense is playing really well. Defense is playing solid. They're going against a Tennessee team that's the wheels are kind of falling off.
Yeah.
I think they're 7-3, maybe 7-4.
They were up there.
And they lost 5-6 in a row. Like the wheels have kind of fallen off. Obviously, injuries have been detrimental to that team.
It's like they stole their wins. The Jacksonville wins stole all their wins away.
Seriously, man. But no, I think this is a huge game for Jacksonville, man. I think this is kind of something that this team and the city's been waiting for. Them kind of like turning the corner. They've kind of been at the bottom of the league for probably the last 10 years almost, really. So this is kind of like the turning of the corner of this young team. Obviously, they went out and got a lot of pieces. And they this is the test now. It's the final test. They got to handle the business today.
Yeah, they got to handle business. And this Titans team, they basically are winning to get in as well with Josh Dobbs leading the cause, man. It's going to be a Derrick Henry game, man. We'll see how it goes. I like Jacksonville to win, but I think this Tennessee team's going to put up a fight.
I think Tennessee's only chance to win, I think Derrick Henry has touched the ball 30 times. I know that's a lot, but he has to touch the ball 30 times.
It cannot be Josh Dobbs throwing 30 times at all.
You got to keep the ball out of Trevor Lawrence's hands.
Yep.
You got to kind of make this like an ugly type of game, like a 14-10 type game, just a real nasty game. I think that's kind of their only chance to get this done.
Hold the ball for 8 minutes each drive. That's the goal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Tennessee, obviously, they win to get in. Buffalo, if they win and KC loses, they can clinch home field advantage. The Patriots can win to get in, or if they lose to Miami, or if they got to have Miami, Pittsburgh, and Jacksonville win. They have to have Miami and Pittsburgh lose, Jacksonville win.
Yeah,
They're going up against the Bills this weekend. I don't know about that one, man.
yeah, it's a tough. That's not a game that you want at the end of the season, especially when Buffalo's playing for something. It's
Yeah.
not a game you want at the end of the season. So
No,
yeah,
not at all, man. And then the
yeah, it's
last two
not looking
teams
good.
trying to get in are obviously Miami and Pittsburgh. Miami gets in with the win and a New England loss. The Steelers can clinch not only Mike Tomlin's 16th straight
Yeah,
consecutive winning season, but also a playoff berth with a win, Miami loss, and a New England loss, which ain't out of the realm of possibilities.
Pittsburgh play Cleveland this week.
They play Cleveland this week.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good game, man.
That'll be a real good game, man, because you know
We
the Cleveland Browns are still playing to win.
and we said it last week. You don't bet against them. That's never happened before. Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin, man, never had a losing season. So
I'm not betting
Pittsburgh gets
against
it
it.
done. Yeah,
I think either way, they're winning the game, whether they make the playoffs or not, in my opinion.
yeah.
All right. Week 18, a lot of things for the NFC side, a lot of things got to happen. The Philadelphia Eagles are still sitting there at 13-3. They have to win, or if Dallas and the Niners both lose, they clinch home field advantage. And then they can clinch the NFC East today with the win or Dallas loss. So that Dallas game's going to be very important. The Eagles going up against the Giants with not a lot to play for. The Giants have pretty much locked in their seating there at the 5 seed. So I'm not sure that they're really going to be playing for a whole lot. I just think that, that Giants, I feel like the Giants are going to lay down and Eagles will win that game.
Yeah, no, I think the Giants are going to. I've heard some rumors. Saquon Barkley is going to be limited, if not nothing at all.
Yeah.
Probably some interior guys going to sit down, shut it down because Giants are locked in. There's no reason to risk anything. They've been playing some good football, so might as well go into the playoffs full strength.
Facts. And I said they're 5th seed. I meant 6th seed.
Yeah.
And then the Bucks too. Obviously, the Bucks might be going through the same thing today as well, sitting a lot of their guys. With obviously Todd Bowles said that they're going to play their starters, but I can't imagine it's going to be for too long, right? In a situation where they've already clinched and this team needs to get healthy.
Yeah. No, it's tough, man. Like I always for me, I think it depends on how your team's flowing. Like for me, I think if your team is hot, like I think they gotta play like at least a half. They gotta keep the rhythm going. This Tampa team obviously is a little older, so I could see them kind of sitting down. But the Giants, man, like Giants have been hot lately. I think for them to almost take a bye week. You see teams like even you see the top seeds when they have a bye week, they come out in those playoff games and they're kind of sluggish in the first quarter, second quarter. So if you're a hot team, I think they gotta have some type of rhythm. Whether it's just a quarter, 2 quarters, almost treat it like a preseason game.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Well, your Chargers, we didn't talk about them in the AFC really quickly before we keep with the NFC. Your Chargers have pretty much locked that 5th spot. I know there's a little slight positioning that could happen, but I see them potentially doing the same thing. Do you want the Chargers to rest the starters or actually play the starters?
I think it's just like what I said. I think almost treat it like a preseason game. We're not trying to. I don't think you try and dominate the game, 4 quarters, grind it out. I think it's almost like a preseason game. You 1 quarter, see how the team's playing. Like the offense goes down and scores in the first 2 possessions. I think you take them out, shut it down for the day. Obviously, just keep Justin Herbert healthy.
Yeah.
The bigger name guys. But I think like this is also like a big game for like Joey Bosa, who's been out for 8 weeks. He had 1 game last week. He only played like 20 snaps. Like he needs to get that. He needs to get his wind up and get that rhythm back. So I think it almost depends on your team and your players.
This team, like, to be real, this Chargers team has a lot of parallels to this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. That's kind of why I brought it up. It's almost like very similar scenarios. Like quarterbacks have been playing up to speed. Both teams have been dealing with a ton of injuries, high expectations for both of these teams. And here they are in the middle of the pack. And if they can get healthy and if they're dialed in the way that things are starting to trend for both of these teams down the stretch, they're going to be tough outs.
Yeah.
Like both this Chargers team and Bucks team are not teams that AFC and NFC opponents want to play.
Yeah.
Both of them got scary potential, in my opinion.
For sure. I've been saying it, man. This Chargers team is giving off Bengals vibes from last
You've
year.
been saying that all year, though.
I have, but it's like in the playoffs, man. Like you never want to see. I'm just a top 5 quarterback. You never want to see it.
Oh
Justin.
my God! Here we go.
Okay, okay. I'll say top 7 to be safe.
Yeah.
I think we can both agree Justin Herbert's a top 7.
Hey, you gonna say top 5? Say it with your chest. I ain't mad at you.
So I think like as an opposing team, man, you never want to see that because at any given point, man, like we've seen Rodgers, Brady, Drew Brees in the past.
Yep.
We've seen those quarterbacks just take over a game, and that's what can happen. We've seen it with Joe Burrow last year, just take over in the playoffs. So
yeah,
I think that's what makes this Chargers team so scary.
Yeah, they will be, this scarier team that, we talked about your team for a minute. My team is kind of scary. Been on a major win streak since the Christian McCaffrey acquisition. San Francisco 49ers sitting at the 2 seed right now. Can have home field advantage with the win and a Philly loss. So that's their opportunity to move up to the 1 seed. The Cowboys obviously need to win and have the Niners and the Eagles lose in order to move up to the number 1 seed. They can clinch the NFC East, though, with the win and a Philly loss. So that's still up for grabs. Mm-hmm. The Seahawks right now are sitting in the 7th seed. And here's where things really get interesting, right? The Vikings are pretty much locked into their seeding. But with the Seahawks, Packers, and Lions all fighting for that last seed, here's how things work out. The Seahawks are playing the Rams. So the way that Seattle clinches the playoff berth is if they win the game and Green Bay loses the Sunday night game to the Lions. Now, Green Bay is basically in a win-to-get-in scenario. So no matter what, when they're playing the Lions, they're going for the win.
Yeah.
The caveat here, which I think the Lions are going to play no matter what, and this is your team that you thought could get that last seed, they have to win and have Seattle lose in order to make the playoffs. So it'll be an interesting Sunday night game. Marcus, how you see all this playing out? You think the Seattle Seahawks go and lose this game? Lose this game and we have a thriller for Sunday Night Football? Or do you think the Lions are playing for pride there on Sunday night?
Man, they're doing Detroit dirty, man. Like, doing Detroit dirty. That's foul. I think it's tough because, like, Seattle's playing the Rams, man. Like, the Rams have shut it down for the year. I want to see, obviously, the Sunday night, showdown, like, almost like we had last year, Raiders-Chargers, when you get in.
There's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there that say it's set up so we have an exciting Sunday Night Football game.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think the NFL, man, I think they should make an exception. Like when there wasn't really a locked-in game where you could be like, oh, no matter what, this is going to be a win and get in. Yeah. Except for Jacksonville, Tennessee. So I think, man, they should have had them play at the same time. Like,
play for something.
You got to play for something. And, like, for me, you could have done that really. Like, the Sunday night game could have been Cincy and Baltimore. Like, that's 2 playoff teams playing for something no matter what. So, I don't know, man. I still think Detroit sneaks in somehow.
It's a good call, though, from the middle of the season where they were at to the way they were playing and then all the way here now. Like, they are on the cusp. They have an opportunity, which they didn't have if you coming out like week 6, week 7. We were not looking at this team as a playoff team. So you did call that aspect, man. They fought their way back in there, but so did this Packers team. And you can't count out Aaron Rodgers. I think they get in. I don't see a situation, even if Detroit's playing for something, I don't see a situation where the Packers lose this at home in prime time. The Lions on the road. I just don't see it happening.
It's hard to bet against Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know, man. Detroit's been they're surprised. They either play really well or kind of like we saw a couple weeks ago. They kind of laid down against Carolina. So we'll see. I do think it's hard to bet against Aaron Rodgers though.
It is. Well, Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys. He's going to be a Hall of Fame candidate at some point, and they did just announce the Hall of Fame, man. The Hall of Fame class, a lot of the finalists were revealed. Shout out to some of the 2023 players that were in there that we watched growing up during our lifetime. You got guys like Jared Allen, Rondé Barber, guys that have been on the ballot before, right? We had some first-timers on there as well, Darrelle Revis, Joe Thomas. We've seen guys like some of my favorite players that haven't got in yet have a good opportunity. You talk about guys like Patrick Willis. Reggie Wayne is still on the ballot. So Andre Johnson, another receiver, Torrey Holt, excuse me. Was there any names that you didn't see on the list, Marcus, that you wanted to see?
Absolutely, man. I think my man Steve Smith Sr. Um, man, snubbed again, man.
Snubbed?
Snubbed.
What you mean snubbed,
He's
dog? Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold
snubbed.
on. What you mean snubbed, bro? Because Steve Smith
Snubbed.
was good, but was he Hall of Famer?
Steve Smith was elite, bro. Elite.
He what?
He was elite, bro. You gotta look at like Steve Smith is top 10 in yards, top 10 in catches. He's up there in touchdowns. Like Steve Smith was an elite receiver. If you're top 10 in any of those categories, you should be a first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
Hell no. When you look at some of the receivers, so hard for them to get in, though. You got guys, we just talked about on the ballot, Reggie Wayne, Torrey Holt, Andre Johnson. Like, these guys
Steve
were
Smith's better than
elite. It's better than who?
Better than who? Guys. 2 out of 3.
Hell, ain't no. All right. Put it this way. If you're going to be a Hall of Famer, you got to be one of the top receivers in your era. And Steve Smith was above average in his era.
Steve Smith, when he was in the league, was a top 5 receiver.
Ain't no way he was a top 5. Steve Smith was not top 5 receiver. Steve Smith was in that Chad Johnson territory. No. The guys that were almost elite. He wasn't a true game-changing wide receiver. Chad Johnson was above average too. Above average. God. That's why he was trying to always wear the Hall of Fame jacket because he knew he wasn't going to get in.
What is above average in today's, like, name an above average receiver in today's game?
If I was thinking about a receiver today, Steve Smith would be like DJ Moore.
Oh, hell no.
He'd be like DJ Moore. And then Chad Johnson to me, Chad Johnson to me would be like, if I'm trying to think of a comp for Chad Johnson, it would be like Keenan Allen.
I'm out. No, sir. No, sir. Shut that down.
It'd be like Keenan Allen. Chad Johnson would be like Keenan Allen, and Steve Smith would be like DJ Moore.
Steve Smith was better than Chad Johnson. And DJ Moore is nowhere.
You said Steve Smith was better than Chad Johnson? How?
Absolutely.
Chad Johnson was better. He was a better receiver. He didn't play as long.
Hell no. Steve Smith was elite. Steve Smith, bro, we're talking top 10 all time in yards. Top 10.
He played for hella long too, though. Steve Smith did play for a long period of time, and he's one of them short receivers. Like he never got hurt, so his durability.
He did get hurt.
He was durable.
He did get hurt.
He was durable though.
He was, but he did miss like 2 full seasons of play.
All right, we got. Let me throw some names out because you got him top 5 in that era. There ain't no way he was top 5.
When he was in the league in his prime, he was the top 5 receiver.
But he wasn't one of the best. He might have been top 5 for an individual season, but he wasn't like a top 5 receiver when you look at the. I'm gonna name some receivers. Let's name some receivers. Name some receivers.
And you got to think of his situation as well.
All right. So was he obviously not in like Calvin Johnson territory, right?
No. I'm not gonna
Julio. He not in Julio territory.
I'm not gonna do that. No.
What about a guy like Marvin Harrison?
I think he's in that Marvin Harrison era.
So you think Steve Smith is in that conversation, but you'd rather have Harrison or Steve Smith?
I might take Steve Smith, but I mean,
but we can't do this.
You gotta say because like obviously Marvin Harrison, you look at him, he had Peyton though. Like imagine Steve Smith with Peyton.
But Marvin was part of that. But Marvin could have did that on any team. It didn't matter that it was Peyton. He was a technician. He caught the rock with the best of them. Like Steve Smith was a deep ball guy for the most part. Deep ball speed guy. He was a deep ball speed guy.
Everything. Steve Smith was everything. 5'9", played on the outside, played in the slot.
He was not playing on the. He was not. He was punt returner. Yeah, he was like baby Tyreek, baby. Emphasis on the baby Tyreek.
Tyreek should be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Tyreek is different than Steve Smith, though. He different than Steve Smith. All right, here another receiver, Larry Fitzgerald.
I'm taking Larry Fitz.
All right, bet. Andre Johnson.
I'm gonna take Andre, but it's close.
Andre, but it's close.
You name the bigger receivers, though.
But I'm just going through receivers of that era.
Okay.
I can't knock it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? Just because they bigger. Brandon Marshall.
Steve Smith. Easy.
Over Brandon Marshall?
Easy.
Hell no, dog. Like Brandon Marshall was an elite receiver just like those guys. He was up in that T.O. like Calvin territory most seasons.
Brandon Marshall was not up there with T.O. and
Brandon Marshall was a top 5 receiver. Brandon Marshall was the top 5 receiver during his time.
In where? Chicago, Miami?
Chicago, Miami.
Jay Cutler?
Denver, all of it. He was with all of it.
No. Not
And he
top
had to
five.
play with Jay Cutler his whole career, damn near.
Steve Smith played with Jake Delhomme. Come on, man. And he played with
All
like
right.
Cam Newton, who was
All right. What about Jordy Nelson?
Steve Smith. Not even a question.
It's close.
It's not close.
Jordy had some of the years. He did it longer, though. Steve Smith did it way longer than Jordy. What about Wes Welker?
Steve Smith, not close.
Not close?
Wes Welker? Come on, man. Wes Welker?
Wes was he was a specialist. Wes was a specialist. I'll give you that one. All right, here's a little more controversial name. Hines Ward.
No, Steve Smith. Easy.
Yeah, he better. He better.
Hines
I go.
like, Hines
I go
like
Steve
Juju.
Smith. Ooh, that's a good comp though.
Hines
Like
like
Juju is a good comp.
Yeah, yeah.
Juju's a good comp. I agree a lot with that. All right, last one I got on the list. Reggie Wayne or Steve Smith.
Steve Smith.
Hell no, bro. It's
Steve
not.
Smith over
You
Marvin.
can't say Steve Smith. You can't say Steve Smith over Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne was an elite receiver. He wasn't just a specialist. He was elite.
Do you think Reggie Wayne's doing the same thing on the Carolina Panthers?
I think Reggie Wayne is doing more. I think he's doing more. Yeah. I think he's doing more. Like, Reggie Wayne was the 2 on that team, bro. And we seen when he became the 1, it was different.
Yeah, but like Peyton. We're talking about Peyton Manning, though.
Nah. It doesn't matter if it's Peyton Manning. It didn't matter if it was Jake Delhomme. It didn't matter. Reggie Wayne was a beast.
Come on, man.
A route runner. He had the speed, a red zone threat. He did it all. He ran every route. Steve Smith was fly route, drags. He wasn't doing every route.
Steve Smith was doing everything.
Nah, he wasn't doing everything. Screens.
Everything.
Yeah, he was blocking. He was blocking. I'll give him that little short ass, strong
bulldog. But we've seen how a quarterback can change a receiver's whole career. Like,
yeah.
No disrespect to Minnesota Vikings Randy Moss, but when he went to New England, it was different. Like, Tom Brady took him to the next level. Like, you've seen guys when they get an elite quarterback, how they just go. You saw it in Denver, Peyton Manning.
We saw it with Carolina with Cam.
Yeah, Cam did not do that to Steve. Don't do that.
Cam did that to Steve. He had one of his best years with Cam.
But Steve was already elite.
Nah, but Cam unlocked him.
No.
Cam unlocked him.
Nah, I'm not doing
He had
that.
one of his best years with Cam Newton.
He did, but Steve was already like that. Like, Steve helped Cam more than Cam helped Steve.
Oh, I don't know about that. About that.
We've seen it in Denver, where rest in peace, Demaryius Thomas was okay.
I take Demaryius Thomas over Steve Smith.
Oh my gosh.
I take Demaryius Thomas over Steve Smith, bro.
Oh my goodness.
Steve Smith is down there. I don't think he was even like top 15 in that. He barely top 15 in that era for me. I'll take Demaryius Thomas. You know who else I'll take over Steve Smith? Roddy White. I'll take Roddy White over Steve Smith, bro.
I'm about to end this train. We're getting disrespectful now.
I would.
He's top 10 all time in the history of the NFL. Top 10. In yards,
you know who Steve Smith is like to me? T.Y. Hilton. Like, that's the area I got Steve Smith.
He just did it for longer. 10? How are you top 10? Like,
I mean, he got a lot of the deep plays, man. A lot of his shit was in chunk games too. Like, people forget about that. He took advantage of matchups, right? It's not like Tyreek Hill where he uses his speed every single game. Steve Smith was one of those guys that would have 200 yards, 3 TDs, and then be quiet against a team that schemed for him the right way, or a corner that had the same speed. That's how I know you remember that. Steve Smith would have them blow up games, 150 and 2 TDs, 200 yards. He wasn't very consistent throughout the year until later in his career. Like, that's the part that Steve Smith, man, he was a big game player. Like, he had huge games in bad matchups.
How do you have over 1,200 receptions, top 10 in yards?
He played for a long ass time. How many seasons did Steve Smith play? I don't even know. How many seasons?
Like 12, 13?
No, he played more than that. Steve Smith played more seasons.
But at the back end, he was in Baltimore. He wasn't really number one in Baltimore.
He was just collecting stats.
See, this is the thing. He wasn't the number one his first 3 years in the league in Carolina. He was just a kick returner, punt returner. Yeah. In the back half of his career, he wasn't really a number one either. He was helping the Ravens. He was with Joe Flacco, and they had all those guys. It was really he only had like an 8-year prime in Carolina where he was the number one receiver.
He played 16 years. 16 years. That's a long career. He was a first-team All-Pro twice in his career. And this is a telling sign. He only made the Pro Bowl 5 times. That's a telling sign.
Why is that telling?
In 16 years, you only made the Pro Bowl, which everybody makes. He only made it 5 times.
No,
That means
the
he
Pro
wasn't really
Bowl.
truly valued. That's how I know he ain't getting in, because he wasn't even truly valued as a top 15 receiver then.
The Pro
Couldn't even
Bowl,
make the
the Pro
damn
Bowl
Pro
back
Bowl.
then, the Pro Bowl back then was even way better. The Pro Bowl
Yeah,
now,
because it had good
dudes is
players in it. Like it had good players
no.
like Brandon Marshall, Reggie Wayne, Roddy White. It
The
had,
Pro
had better
Bowl
players
now,
in there.
the Pro Bowl now, dudes is just opting out. Freaking Mac Jones made the Pro Bowl last year.
Yeah,
Come
that's
on,
true.
bro.
But back then it was worth something though. Like Steve Smith to me, man, he'll be good, but he ain't a Hall of Famer. Maybe in
Oh
a few
my
years,
gosh.
maybe.
Sheesh.
T.O.
I
wasn't
get
first ballot.
top 10. You don't make the Hall of Fame. I don't understand.
He not top 10, bro.
He's top 10 all
What
time
is
in
he
those
in? Let me see what
categories.
he is in yardage and catches, bro. Because I gotta look this shit up now.
In
Now
those
you got me
categories,
wondering.
He's top 10 all time in those categories.
Receiving yards leaders. Man, we see all these names from better players. So Reggie Wayne's right there too. So you got
How many years
Steve
Reggie Wayne
Smith.
played? 20?
Steve Smith is 8. Reggie Wayne actually played 2 years less than Steve Smith.
Okay.
Andre Johnson played 2 years less than Steve Smith. And they're
Steve
all
Smith also missed 2 full seasons, though.
it don't matter. Reggie Wayne was hurt too, and Andre Johnson missed some time. I don't want to hear all players play with injuries.
But
Anquan
2
Bolden's a
full
name I
seasons.
take over Steve Smith. I take Anquan Bolden over Steve Smith. Like, there's a lot of players I take over Steve Smith. I ain't gonna lie, dog. I ain't gonna hold you. Top
What's
10
the top
is
10?
Jerry Rice, Larry Fitzgerald, Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, Isaac Bruce, Tony Gonzalez. All those receivers have over 1,500 yards. Tim Brown is next. Then Steve Smith, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Andre Johnson is like 8 through 11. All those guys are within 600 yards of each other. So those last seasons Steve Smith was playing, he kind of boosted up. You know what I'm saying? He got himself a little extra for playing longer.
Okay, so all those receivers you just named,
Yeah.
take Steve Smith out of the equation. Would you agree that they're not Hall of Famers?
Marvin is
Every
a Hall of
single
Famer.
one of them.
Marvin is a Hall of Famer for sure. Marvin Harrison is a Hall of Famer. Andre Johnson's a maybe. Reggie Wayne is a maybe. Probably not for both of those two because they didn't get.
What?
I think Marvin Harrison for sure is a Hall of Famer though.
I think all those guys are Hall of Famers, in my opinion.
Nah, but receivers, bro, it just takes the receivers too long to get in. Like I think Torrey Holt is still not in the Hall of Fame. Like, and Torrey was a dog. Torrey was a dog, bro.
Man, that's
It
crazy.
took Tim Brown how long to get in that? Didn't it take Tim Brown a long time to get in the Hall of Fame too?
It did,
like
but
Chris
I feel like
Carter.
for me, like, those guys to me are no-brainers.
There go Brandon Marshall down there at 23.
Yeah, I'm cool on Brandon Marshall.
Brandon Marshall at 23.
I'm cool on Brandon Marshall.
Yeah.
Brandon Marshall was nice, though. Like, no disrespect, but
Yeah.
you're talking about he's not up there with Steve.
He also played 3 years less though, and Brandon Marshall was up there with Steve. And that's just yards. We didn't talk about receiving. We didn't talk about touchdowns either.
You don't talk about a deep ball only threat.
Who?
Brandon Marshall is playing
Hey,
jump
nah,
ball.
bro. We can't. We're not gonna do this about Brandon Marshall. We're not gonna do this about Brandon because that boy would 20 catches in a game. He still got the
Yeah.
record for most catches in a game, don't he?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Receiving touchdowns. Where's Steve Smith on this list? If you had to guess what number you think he's at, what do you think he's at?
I'm gonna say he's in the 40s.
Oh, close. He's at number 30 right now. He's tied with Mike Evans for number 30.
Yeah.
That's not bad, actually, though.
Yeah.
But you know who's right ahead of him?
5'9"?
You know who's right ahead of him at 28?
Probably Brandon Marshall.
Brandon Marshall, Reggie Wayne, and Quan Bolden.
Steve Smith was 5'9" though.
Steve Smith was 5'9", though, bro. He was hella small.
You can't just throw it up. Like a lot of those guys you just named, a lot of those touchdowns. Mike Evans, throw it up, jump ball.
You know who's
Brandon
surprise
Marshall,
name on this
jump
list
ball.
at number 15? Devontae Adams, already 15th all time in touchdowns.
Damn,
That's crazy. Gronk
Yeah,
at
that's
12.
that's impressive.
So, yeah, man. Well, some names there, bro. One more side note before we get off. I know we did a lot of NFL today. We've been talking about
Yeah.
NBA. We gonna get on track, bro. We gotta get
Yeah.
on track with NBA. But one more note, bro. Lamar Jackson has not been playing for this team. He's been hurt. This Ravens team dealing with obviously quarterback injuries. What do you think of this whole Lamar Jackson scenario? Because there's a little contract thing that's there
Yeah.
too. You think that's playing a part in this, or what's your thoughts overall? Because it's him being out for this long is kind of mysterious when they talked about it being like a week to week thing.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I think it's getting a little eerie. Like John Harbaugh, like they asked him about it this week. He's like, man, I can't answer that question anymore. Like I don't. It's up to the trainers and Lamar now. Like he's almost it almost seemed like he was irritated with the situation. And I think Lamar in his mind's like, why am I gonna rush back to just on a hurt knee, contract year? A lot of my teams beat up. I think Lamar shut it down, man. In my opinion,
You
I
think
think he's
so?
shutting it down, and I think he's gonna just take it to the contract talks. Like I think it's a smart in my move. In my opinion, it's a smart move. I think Lamar, man, there's no reason to risk it. He's still super young, and to have a knee injury that could potentially worsen, I think in my opinion, you shut it down and get paid.
Come back to full strength now. Do you think he shuts it down? Like, say, obviously the playoffs start next week. You think he shuts
Mm-hmm.
it down throughout the playoffs and is like, I'm just done? Or do you think he's been resting to get back for the playoffs and didn't care about positioning?
Yeah, I think it's tough because like he hasn't been practicing either. Like he hasn't practiced even in a limited capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's testing it out, still trying to stay in a rhythm. I mean, unless he's doing stuff on his own, which is under the under wraps. Obviously, he's doing rehab and all that. But I'm talking football wise, like doing some
Mm-hmm.
stuff on his own. I think it's tough, man. You don't do anything for a full month and then just come back for the playoffs. Like I don't know. It's I think for me, I think Lamar Jackson shut it down for the whole year.
You know, it wouldn't be crazy. And a big part of that is this narrative, too, right? Like, Lamar's a running back or he can't throw the football. And it's like, why would he come back to this scenario right now playing hurt on a team with no receivers? You got
Yeah,
Demarcus Robinson out there. They traded your boy away, Hollywood Brown. You lost
yeah.
Rashad Bateman for most of the season. Devin Duvernay's out. They're like, hey, let's go make this great signing in Deshaun Jackson of all people. What are you rushing back for when the way that you're
Sammy
going to have to win?
Watkins
Yeah, Sammy Watkins. Like, the way he's going to have to win football games right now is how? With
running the
his
football.
legs.
Yeah,
Running the football. That's it. And so, what are they going to say? Oh, contract time's up. Oh, Lamar, your numbers are down. Lamar, you
yeah,
weren't passing as much. We can't pay you. We can't pay you like the elite guys because you're not the passer they are. If you're Lamar Jackson,
yeah.
why would you come back to that for regular season stuff? Now, I think he comes back for playoffs and tries to prove his worth by winning a football game, winning multiple football games in playoffs. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I think this is gonna get ugly, bro.
You
Because
think?
Lamar's gonna want that fully guaranteed, especially after these injuries. Now, the way he plays, the way the Ravens system is built around him, and I don't think the Ravens can afford to go to the franchise tag for the next. That franchise tag is getting high,
Hefty. Hefty. This
especially
what,
with
50,
these.
60 mil?
Yeah,
It's got to
especially
be
with
up
these
there now.
quarterbacks like because Herbert's gonna get paid this summer. Joe Burrow's gonna get paid this summer. Like
Yep.
those guys are gonna get paid, and now that franchise tag's only going up. So like at some point, the Ravens, it's either we're gonna have to make a move and trade him, or we're gonna have to let him go, or just pay him. Like
Yeah.
for me, if I'm Lamar Jackson, you got to look at the situation. Like, do we have a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl? In my opinion, the answer is no for Baltimore.
Because it'll only
So
hurt his value. Like, they go and
yeah,
they lose again, or he gets hurt again, or he doesn't perform well.
now
It
it's his
only
playoff
hurts the
records
number.
one
Yeah.
and 1-3, 1-4. Like,
It only
nah,
hurts his numbers right now. Is that selfish of Lamar? Because to me, it's always about the team. You got to put
mm-hmm.
team first. Business decisions have to be
Yeah.
made. Is that a selfish look from Lamar? And if so, do you think it's justified?
I don't. Being in this professional game, bro, like it's such a business. Like it's crazy how much. Like you always hear, man. Oh, it's a business at the end of the day. But like it really is a business. Like they do not care at all.
What you
And
mean?
I think like just the biz, like they really will like talk like, oh man, we love you, this and that, and then next day you're gone. Like we saw, I've seen it just firsthand with obviously my friend Tyrese Halliburton in that situation, the Kings. We've seen different things around the sports world. But for Lamar Jackson, getting back to that, like he's handled this situation perfectly. Like he hasn't held out. He After the preseason and the contract talks broke down, he said, "I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm just going to play the season. We'll talk about it after the season. I'll let he's been his own agent, so he said, I'm going to
Yeah.
handle that after the season." He hasn't made a big deal about it. Hasn't come out and bash the Ravens about it. So for me, like now you got to just take care of yourself. Like they're not taking care of you, so why you got to take care of them?
Yeah, it's
That's
a
my
business.
opinion.
They had their
Yeah,
opportunity over the offseason to lock him
yeah,
into a contract and meet some of the standards that this guy has put his body through over the last few years at a level that, they got an MVP out of him. They got some
yeah,
successful seasons for this Ravens team and haven't really put a lot of pieces around him. He's dealt with injuries throughout, them trading away pieces, not really changing his situation or going and making that move to go get an elite guy for him. If I'm Lamar, I don't blame him as well, man.
yeah.
And it sucks that it's become more of a business, but I also think that player empowerment's a thing, man. I think you need to have more player empowerment because they're the life of the league. Like without
Hmm.
players, you don't have a league. So to me, I'm not mad at Lamar, and if somebody values him like the quarterback that he wants to be paid as. There's a team in the league that needs him
Yeah.
that way,
I'm, I'm so confused by the Ravens, man. Like, why? Like, do they? No disrespect to these guys. Do they really think like Sammy Watkins and Deshaun Jackson are the answers? Like,
I don't
yeah,
know what they're doing.
they got Mark Andrews, great tight end, top 5 tight end. The run game is going to be the run game. Like, I don't think it really matters who they put back there running back because Lamar Jackson's such a threat. Um, but these receivers, man, like Rashad Bateman, I think he can grow into be a solid receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him getting to that elite level, but I think he'll be a solid receiver. Duvernay is kind of like a gadget guy,
Gadget guy,
slot
yeah.
speed guy. They don't have a guy who's like, oh man, he can be the guy in 3 years.
Well, is that
And
the problem though with like mobile quarterbacks, right? So obviously mobile quarterbacks,
yeah,
right? we talk
hmm,
about mobile quarterbacks, but a lot of those guys don't get receivers, right?
hmm,
They typically don't put an elite receiver, and we see what happened with that with Jalen Hurts this year. It's like these guys went out and got AJ Brown. Now he looks like a different quarterback. He has his team up top the NFC. Like what? Why don't more teams take that in consideration? Kyler Murray, they went out and got Hollywood Brown, and before he got hurt, like this team looked like a true threat offensively, at least. Like they could actually move the ball down the field with both of them in there. Why aren't more teams doing that? It's like I get the
that's a
blocking side, like because you need
yeah,
blocking receivers. A lot of times you want receivers like a receiver that can either block or there's reasoning why you don't go get an elite speed guy or just go get a random wide receiver. Like you need to fit the system, obviously. But
yeah,
still, at the end of the day, you can go find an elite receiver and pair that with a guy like Lamar for the rest of it for the next 4 or 5 years in his career. Why wouldn't you?
yeah. It's weird because like you'd think that it opened up the game more. Like when people play the Ravens, bro, they have 8 people in the box at all times. Like
Yep.
these receivers are playing 1-on-1. So you go get an elite guy like I'm just throwing names out there: DeAndre Hopkins, AJ, but not the DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
Like you can't play these guys 1-on-1. Like DK Metcalf with Lamar Jackson would be unreal, bro.
Crazy.
Like you
Crazy.
cannot play that 1-on-1, and like that opens up the run game more. That opens up other receivers more. Like they already are probably doubling Mark Andrews on top of putting 8 in the box.
Yeah.
I don't understand what the Ravens are doing, in my
You look
opinion.
at a guy like Amari Cooper who went for what, fifth round pick last year, sixth round.
Yeah,
Like, why didn't they go get him? That would have
yeah,
been the perfect type of player to put alongside of a Lamar Jackson. Like just bringing it, even though they had Hollywood Brown last year, it's like you trade away Hollywood Brown, you want Bateman to be the guy. Imagine having another guy on the opposite side of the opposite
yeah.
side of Bateman. That's where I think the win is,
Hmm.
and that's where I think that this Ravens team, man, they might end up losing Lamar. I hope not, because I like seeing Lamar. You know what I'm saying? He looked decked out in that black and purple. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It looks like that's the fit. But I would hate to see Lamar go. It kind of looks like that's the way things are trending.
yeah. I don't know, man. It's like Lamar. I feel like Lamar has been real handling this like real professional, but I think at some point he's gonna just get up out of there, or he's gonna
Kind of looks like the end of this season.
there's gonna be some type of drama that's gonna go down because it seems like this situation has kind of brought out some frustration. It hasn't been like publicly known, but just how it's gone, like him not practicing, not really much has been talked about the whole situation. seems like something's going on in Baltimore.
We ain't really heard nothing from him either.
Yeah, he hasn't
Kinda
spoken at
surprising.
all.
At all. Not even on social, like something. So,
Yeah.
all right, man. Anything else to get off your chest here before we get off?
No, man. Just excited to watch them Chargers next week in the playoffs, man. You know.
We can do a preview. We'll do a preview before the playoffs, man. We got to get a playoff
for
preview
sure.
in, and we'll get an NBA episode in too this week or something. So,
Yeah.
y'all make sure you stay tapped in with us. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back next week with a Talk Yo Talk. Hope y'all like the video. Peace out.
Yes, sir.